so let's get started. Customer avatar, and what I draw out here is a simple quadrant, right? We have 4 boxes, and each box has its own purpose. I will need your participation. I'm simply gonna ask you questions, and together we're gonna brainstorm, and we're gonna fill it out. So give me a moment to write this down. On the left-hand side, we start with characteristics. With characteristics, I mean qualities and characteristics of the person, right? I give an example. In my opinion, the people that I'm looking for are ambitious, right? I want to see that they have a ambition, a fire in their belly to make a change, right? Or to always be better. So I'm personally looking for somebody that is ambitious. So let's write that down. Second, I also know that I'm looking for somebody that has prior experience to entrepreneurship, right? Somebody that has started a company or multiple and maybe, didn't always work out, but at least they have tried to start something on their own. Or it could be people that are thinking about it. They're currently in a job, but they have been thinking of creating something on the side. They might have looked into e-commerce or maybe a consulting business or even sell merchandise, t-shirts, cups, right? People that are thinking about entrepreneurship, per definition, they qualify to be a great recruit on our team because we hand them the business model. Right? So specifically this box right here in characteristics, we want to write down everything that we can think of that makes this person the ideal recruit. Personally, if I speak to somebody that has never thought of entrepreneurship, never tried anything, never attended an event in their life, right? Don't know what is e-commerce, per definition, I already know that this person doesn't qualify. Because if I need to teach this person all of that, it's going to take so much time, right? And I will be babysitting rather than to building a business, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would say prior experience with entrepreneurship. Right. Chris, what are some, if you think in terms of characteristics, what are some of the characteristics that come to your mind that will qualify the people on your team?
I mean, teachable.
Coachable.
Coachable.
Very good. I like that one. Go on.
I think a sense of urgency, but that would pretty much fall under ambitious.
Okay. Like you detect that there is a need to make a change right now.
A lot of people talk a good game, but 10 years, 20 years from now, they're still talking.
Okay.
So I think if they don't have, because if you ask me for my goals, right, a lot of people don't have goals. And even if they do have goals, they don't have a time frame on those goals.
Yeah.
And then they keep on having that, so it even comes with what you were saying with the experience, because as an entrepreneur, it's the reason you become an entrepreneur is because you realize how time is.
Exactly.
Right. So I would say either a value of time or some, urgency of time.
Okay, I like that. Have a sense of urgency or understands value of time.
Right.
Yeah. Sense of urgency and understands value of time. Very good. Do you have any characteristics based on your call so far of the people that you encountered? What are some of the things that you're looking for when you want to onboard somebody in your team?
Yeah, looking people with curiosity.
Curiosity. Okay, good.
Yeah, people ask the questions, all the time. I'm looking for more. People ask me question, how this work or how I can get more benefits. So curiosity is people are looking for.
Yeah, great. One of our mentors, imagine in my mentors, Hugh Hilton from the Hilton family, he said the same thing. We came from the Europe a few weeks ago and he was teaching. He said the number one thing that he's looking for to do business with is people that are always curious, right? Always looking for that next opportunity because they realize that they may be good where they are, but they're also open to learn more. And I think that's a great quality. So always be curious. Always be curious / asking questions.
Yeah.
Very good. Megan, if you think of talking to your network and qualifying them on who could be a great addition to the team, right? Like what comes to mind? What are some of the characteristics that you would be looking for to qualify them?
Self-motivated.
Self-motivated, okay.
I think that would be a big one because a lot of this, no one's going to tell you what to do, right? A lot of it is you being willing to push yourself. And I know I have some friends that would not qualify into that. And I don't think they would be great. Like, I love them to death, but they wouldn't be the best candidates because they can't push themselves on their own.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Chris?
Yep, I agree.
Right? I think we 100% agree because if you cannot manage yourself and have that passion and hunger every day to get up and make something out of your day, then per definition, there's very little that we can do to change that. Self-motivation, I think that's a great one too. Self-motivated. We have an amazing list. Come on. If you think of adding people to our team, I know we have a whole list here, but we're looking for one more. Imagine that you're just talking to this ocean of people, but you're looking for that one recruit. What is the quality that you're looking for that makes him or her a great addition to the team?
Yeah, I would say that for me, I always see what are the values on the people, and when you have clear your values, it's easier to understand what you want to do in life. So for me, one of the most important values that I see in other people for them to fit in this type of ventures is personal growth.
Okay.
So when they are, or when I see that they work in their personal growth, I know that this type of person can be a good fit for this business.
Excellent. So can we formulate that is already working on self-development, personal growth?
Yeah.
Chris, another great one, and I think that gives us a whole lot to think about. Somebody that already is working on their self-development, their personal growth. And that kind of ties in a little bit with self-motivation and understand the value of time and must be coachable.
But
right?
you know, when you talk to somebody and you know that that person is reading certain books, or they tell you, I'm going to this event, you know they want to grow.
Yeah.
And then you can approach them and say, hey, do you want to hear about this?
Yeah.
Because they are looking for it.
So looking for personal growth.
Yeah.
Okay, looking for personal growth. Excellent. Great. So we have a whole bunch of keywords, right? So we're going to move on to the next quadrant, which is actually going to be goals and values, right? So I'm going to write it down, but the goal is for yourself after today. And I have templates for this, and I'm going to share it with each and every one of you so we can make it digital, right? You can formulate this slightly better, make it more specific. But the point is that you want to have all these 4 quadrants. We're going to cover these today. And we want to be so specific that the moment that we speak to somebody, we recognize all these qualities and instantly we know how to adjust our pitch to them because we recognize the qualities. And that helps us determine whether to switch to client conversation versus recruit or simply like let them go, right? Don't invest your time. So the second quadrant, we're gonna call them, or actually I said goals and values, but it's actually called pain points and challenges. So the second quadrant on the right hand side is called pain points and challenges. And what we're looking for here, and Chris kind of addressed one already, you said sense of urgency. But what we want to understand here, because in sales, the moment you hit a home run with somebody is when you can relate to their pain and their challenge. Mm-hmm. It's never about selling people. It's never about, look, my business or my system is so amazing and you should do it too. That's not what resonates with people. But if you can address the pain point, allow them to express their challenges that they have, or if the pain is strong enough, right, and you find that relation right there, and you can present them the solution, price or commitment is no longer an issue, right? So again, the moment you're able to address the pain or the challenges that they face in life, and then you offer them the solution, people are committed and willing to do whatever it takes to get rid of that pain or the challenge. Does that make sense? So let's talk about Chris. Let's start with you. In your experience and some of the connections that you have, what are some of the pains that those people go through on a day-to-day basis? And what is it that why these people need our help, right? What is the challenge in their life or their pain that they're currently going through?
Well, all right. So personally for me, right, this is literally a testimony. Where I'm from in Jamaica, right, I was considered rich, or my family was considered rich. Like, they were hustlers. They did a lot of different business, some illegal, some non-illegal, you know. But what happened between my mom and my generation, I identified that they were losing money, right? So just imagine growing up between ages, let's say 5 and like 10. You live a certain lifestyle,
yeah,
right? And then one day it's taken away from you. So I'm going to give you a prime example. My uncle, right? He had a yacht.
Okay.
And he also had what is considered to be a motel on the beachfront.
In Jamaica.
In Jamaica. So it has over 36 rooms.
Okay.
All right. And why I know this is because the owner, the real owner, he and his friend and his son and I are good friends still up to this day. Right?
Yeah.
Now just imagine the shift, the mindset or the pain that you're going to go through knowing that all of this, you thought it was all of you thought it was in your family's name.
Right.
So later on, realize that it's not. It was all a facade. It wasn't even real, you know?
But what exactly happened?
I realized it wasn't his. He was just renting it to do business.
Okay.
Right? But beyond that, so they started losing money on everything. Even with the restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, we had to sell the restaurant because of lack of financial knowledge. Right? So personally, this is why this module helps me. You learn a language that is not taught. It's not taught to certain people.
Yep.
right? And there's a lot of breakthroughs, poor people making business moves, and it wins. They open a restaurant or they open a bookstore, and for the first 5 years they're making some money. But what happens when you go through an economical crisis or a global crisis like what is happening now? This happens a lot of time, and you don't know how to save your money, protect your money, grow your money any other way,
Yep.
right? So I say that to say this: we're lack of financial truth or knowledge,
Hmm.
which
Right.
is really pain and challenges. Because I can tell you for sure, I've done a lot of business. Even I was even saying to Angeline, 10 years ago when I was throwing parties, if I knew her 10 years ago, I'd be a billionaire now.
Right. Yeah, you would have made different decisions.
Right.
So just for the sake of time, let me just try to formulate that, which we can use on the board, right? So you're saying a pain or a challenge that people would go through is they have already tried some type of entrepreneurship adventure. However, they have failed and they realized that there was a lack of education, a lack of guidance.
Right.
So can we say past experiences, like their pain or their challenge comes from past experience, and if they wish that they could go back in time, they would have made different decisions. Yeah, so we write on the board, previous failed business ventures, right? That's a growing pain that makes this candidate a good fit to join our system. Previous failed adventures, failed business. For now, we will make sure that we get very specific. All right, so just to value and to respect all of our time, just in 1 minute, what is some of the things that you could think of? What is a pain or challenge that somebody's going through right now, which makes it a great fit for our business?
Struggling with time.
Struggling with time? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, they don't have like a specific routine, so
Okay.
they all the time say, hey, do you have, for example, 1 hour to study? No, I'm so busy. They don't have time management. Yeah.
Like the busyness syndrome. People always think that they're busy.
Exactly. You told them last one, and now they're busy, so they cannot see how manage that.
Okay. I like that one. I think we all know probably a lot of people that always say, I don't have time, right? I don't have time. I can't do it. This or that, right? We all have the same 24 hours. So always busy. Always busy, never enough time. Not enough time. Amor, if you think of somebody that is going through a challenge or through they experience a form of extreme pain that makes it a good candidate, what is it that these people are experiencing?
I don't know if it's a pain per se, but I would say that families that are having kids, they feel more pressure to provide for them and their future. So they start thinking different like that when they were single because they have to provide
It
for
could be like an uncertainty, right? They don't see this business could be maintained in the family.
Yeah, I would say like, well, as you said, something that will qualify them and find their pain to be the perfect candidate to join the team.
Yeah.
I would say those persons that have new families and perhaps don't have all the income to provide for the kids, so they will be motivated.
Okay, so responsibility for the family, uncertainty for the future.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? So
Necessity life upgrade, like it's a necessity.
right, yeah, like they recognize the current situation is probably not enough to support the future.
Yes.
Right? It's a growing pain, and that's what we're looking for, because there's no way that you're gonna sell to somebody and present them if they say, I'm happy I'm great, I'm perfect. Okay, if you're happy, great, and perfect, then honestly, we don't need to have this conversation. This is for people that are currently experiencing some trouble, and we're able to help, either through knowledge, through the education part, the vehicle, or the mentorship and coaching, right?
And I would say in our case, as immigrants, we do have a lot of family or friends that are coming from other countries. Maybe in our countries they were doctors and lawyers, but here they cannot work in those countries. So they need to generate money. So how do I do? This is a good way to create.
So current situation is not enough to support the future for now. Not enough to support future. Great stuff. Megan, what do you think? A challenge or pain point that somebody's going through that makes him an ideal candidate for us to help them?
I mean, especially right now, any kind of illness. Yeah. Illness, like whether it's chronic or not, deathly or not, like whatever it is, illness of any kind. If someone's had someone in their family face that, fight through that, that would be a major.
Okay. So illness in their life or in their family's life?
Within their,
within their
someone
circles.
close to them. Didn't have to be family.
Okay.
Let's face
Yeah, but you always need to know, okay, how I can help this.
How do I plan? Because that's when you start thinking about, okay, well, what happens if this person does actually, like, something does happen to this person, what are we going to do? It like, makes people think in a different way.
Yeah.
Great. So Chris, we found another one, which is an immediate pain or challenge is an illness that is happening either in that person's life or in their direct family or inner circles, right? So the need to make a change, to take action.
And if I might say, that happens to your parents. Okay, like your parents created the will, the insurance.
No, that's great, and I will share that story some other time. But I have some personal experiences in my family that relate to all of this, right? So now here at the bottom, we're gonna create the third quadrant, which is called sources of information. Sources of information, if you think of like your prospect, right? So we covered characteristics, we covered their pain points and challenges, but those people, they're already out there looking for information, right? They're either online listening to certain people, right? YouTube gurus, basically, they follow YouTube personalities. Maybe they are inside Facebook groups, right? To look for peer-to-peer support. Maybe they are, Tony Robbins fans, right? They go to Tony Robbins because they feel that Tony Robbins is the guy to change their life. So we're looking for those sources of information where our ideal recruit is going to be hanging out. Because if we know where they hang out, how easy is it for us to reach out and be in the middle among all these people, right? So we call this sources of information. And then, Chris, I want to ask you if you can give me a couple of examples where our ideal recruit will be hanging out.
It goes back to self-development seminars or self-motivation seminars.
Good. I like it. I'm writing it down as you speak, so go on.
Right. I personally think so. All right. I thought about this. I think target areas could have been like even people who are already in certain fields of engagement. Like when I was in Forex, right? They only taught you how to make the money. But now that you have the money, what do you do with it?
Right.
So I'm thinking business owners. I'm thinking like new entrepreneurs or people who are in the venture field.
Okay. But so let's say either they're in business or not, but these people are looking for support, right?
Right.
because we're always looking to attract like-minded people. I mean that even if you're broke, sick, and very bad mentality, you're looking for those people that are broke, sick, and have a bad mindset. So keep that in mind. Like, what would you say? What are some of these sources that these people will go after? I think you mentioned seminars and events is great. We are a personal example of that. We go to those all the time. Maybe online. What are some of the sources that they go to find that support?
I would say like business advisory channels or groups.
Like Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Facebook groups, entrepreneur groups, peer-to-peer support.
Right.
Okay. Andres, if you think about your ideal recruit and they're looking to associate, what are some of these sources that you can think of that they will be hanging out?
Maybe in a YouTube, for example, in a motivational videos.
Yeah.
See what people are looking at videos, people looking and comment the videos.
Right. Like Gold Coast, right? Some of these brands that
because they're like motivational videos, so the people are watching that videos or comment that kind of videos. People right now looking for that kind of support.
Exactly. Motivational YouTube videos. Great. Megan, some of the places that you can imagine that our ideal recruit is looking for support on a daily basis. Could be offline and online, but like online that's what most people do nowadays because it's easy, but there's like meetup groups, right? Networking events, there's a ton of those. So what are some of these places that you think that they seek support?
I mean, social media, but y'all kind of already said that.
But more specifically, because social media it could be anything.
I mean, Instagram is huge right now. I guess so many people follow certain
Influencers,
whether it's fitness or financial or whatever area it is. I know people will watch their Instagram.
So could we say influencers that are talking about specific topics, because
specialized influencers.
Yeah, like okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, could be, for example, the Instagram page of Grant Cardone.
Right.
Because that influencer I'm talking about.
Influencer profiles.
Yeah.
And we can define this, Chris and guys, we can define this later. Like the point is not this is a brain dump. Whatever we're thinking, we're adding to the quadrant. But the moment I give you the templates so you have some time to sit and think about it, we can make them more specific. Because again, the goal is ultimately to have this so visual that we could almost put a picture, a face in the middle, and this person will represent all these quadrants. That's how specific we want to get, so that by the time we go out and call and talk to people, we can recognize the moment that this comes up, we know right away that you're the right person. And I should put more effort because you're going to make an excellent team member, right? So I would personally say meetup groups and networking events, because if I take myself, like I like the physical component still. So I'm looking for places like WeWork, right? The co-working spaces, meetup events, networking groups. So I would say physical networking groups. And Mandy, what would you say if you're looking at your ideal recruits in your mind? Like, where do they hang out? Like, where do they go, or where do they seek their information?
Yeah, I would say from what I have seen so far is those groups that I belong, like this women's entrepreneur groups, which we have Facebook groups or our inner groups. So all of them are so eager that as soon as that everybody throws some information about what we do, they say, I'm in, I help you to pass on the
No.
message.
Yeah, I think those we can classify as referral groups. Like-minded people together, present your business and see how we can locally support each other. Right? Because there's a difference in the two networking groups. One is inspirational, informational, meaning, hey guys, this is what we're doing, now go and talk to each other. Versus the one that you described is actually to help support each other. Like, oh, I have service or product X, and you have service and product X, which go together, so now we can support each other, right? So pass on business or referrals, people that I believe can do business with you.
But if they're going to bring some business, that's what we want, because it's an extension of us. Maybe they have in their network people that they know they will benefit, so they reach out to them.
Yeah, exactly. So those are referrals, business referral. So I like that. Business referral groups, those are very powerful.
Yeah, because that's what they do when we come together.
Definitely.
This is my
What is your
business,
business?
how
What
can I
is your
help you? And they do introductions.
Great. So we covered characteristics, we covered pain points and challenges, we covered sources of information. So the last one on the quadrant is called role. How can I formulate that? I would say role in the decision making. Yeah, let's call it role in decision making, because we want to understand if I'm, and you addressed that earlier, if I'm addressing you, but I know that you're currently married, right? And you most likely consult with your wife, then I should make sure that if I invite you to the training, both spouses are going to be on the training, because the wife, even though you may do all the work and the effort, it's going to be your business. The wife is the decision maker, right? So it's very important to recognize that. So let's do role. I call it role in purchase. So Chris, if you think about your ideal recruit, is he most likely, he or she, is he most likely the influencer, the one that can influence the family, their networks, their peers or spouse? Or is it straight up the decision maker?
I think the average person is able to make this decision on their own, but it should be a family decision.
Yeah. Well, think about it like this. Everybody, of course, is able to move forward by themselves, but naturally, you know that's not really how it works, especially if you are in a couple. There's always, in very unique situations, you have two individuals that do make their own decisions, but most likely, especially if you're in a good relationship, you recognize that that's something that you discuss with your spouse first, right? So you could be talking to a decision maker, but then still need the spouse on board to make that joint decision. And kind of the goal in this section right here is to recognize that in the person. Am I talking directly to somebody that can pull the trigger and say, yes, I'm in, right? Yes, let's do this. Or am I talking to somebody that needs to consult a business partner or a spouse or a family member, right? So in your conversation, and they vary case by case, but you want to understand the role in the purchase, right? And it actually happened with Andres and Megan, where Angeline actually said, you know what, let's do this when Megan is involved, because we could already tell that this is something that you guys discussed together, right? So instead of doing the presentation with Andres alone, expecting Andres to go and explain all of that to Megan, we said we rather reschedule and do that when you're both together on the call. So in this particular exercise, I think the purpose of this quadrant right here is simply to recognize whom you're talking to, whether it's a decision maker or an influencer. But if it's an influencer, make sure that you bring the decision maker on board, and don't schedule that presentation until both partners are actually on the call. Right? So this will definitely vary on a case-to-case basis, but I just wanted to make sure that we understand those two roles. So we call it the influencer and the actual decision maker.
If I am the decision maker and my husband is not there, maybe I want to do the presentation for that person, because there's people that, like my sister and her husband, he takes care of everything. And she said, I don't want to have a life insurance. But I want to talk to him because he is the one that is going to, at the end, decide what they do. So if he's a decision maker, maybe they do, then they don't have to be together. If he's going to decide for the family.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent example. I mean, the decision maker is your sister. However, the one that actually pays for things and kind of signs off on things is the husband. So without the husband involved, even though the sister is the decision maker, the sale is not going to happen, because that's just something that...
Yeah, you have to be on the influencer. The influencer has to be on your side.
Yeah,